Gabriel Garcia Marquez was born in Aracataca, Colombia, in 1927 into a world saturated with myth, memory, and contradiction. Raised by his grandparents, his grandfather, a colonel, and his grandmother, a wellspring of folklore, he grew up surrounded by stories that blurred the line between reality and fable. But life in Colombia also taught him about cruelty, political violence, and poverty. These weren't things to escape from. They were to be understood, studied, and ultimately transformed through narrative. He didn't set out to be a revolutionary, but his work would become just that, a revolution of the imagination, a rallying cry for dignity in forgotten places, and a rebellion against Western assumptions about truth. His early writing years were marked by struggle. A self-imposed exile from law school led to journalism, where he developed the discipline of writing under pressure, of telling hard truths in plain language. Yet Garcia Marquez never settled for just reporting facts. He sought to uncover a deeper rhythm, a poetic logic beneath the chaos of Latin America's history. That required solitude, conviction, and immense psychological endurance. In the mid-1960s, with a family to feed and debt mounting, he began the novel that would change world literature forever. Over 18 months, he locked himself away and wrote. He sold his car, pawned his wife's jewelry, borrowed money for food. But the writing never stopped. What emerged was 100 Years of Solitude, a sweeping saga of love, war, loss, and rebirth, told in a voice that fused the magical with the brutal. It wasn't just a literary masterpiece, it was a declaration. It said Latin America was not a failed imitation of Europe or the United States. It was its own cosmos, full of spiritual grandeur, suffering, and resilience. That voice, forged in solitude, gave dignity to millions whose lives had been overlooked or reduced to caricature. The novel's success propelled Garcia Marquez to international fame, but he remained grounded, suspicious of celebrity, and loyal to the people he came from. In an era where writers often drifted towards cynicism or escapism, he stood his ground. He refused to abandon moral engagement. His political stance made him a lightning rod. A friend of Fidel Castro and an outspoken critic of American imperialism, Garcia Marquez was banned from entering the United States for decades. But he didn't posture. He didn't use slogans or safe causes to shield himself. He spoke plainly. He believed in Latin America's right to self-determination, even if that meant aligning with figures the West considered dangerous. He took his criticism not from ideology, but from his lived experience of injustice. It cost him dearly, but he never disavowed the poor or reshaped his message to gain access to elite circles. This was not a man driven by comfort or applause. His later works, including The Autumn of the Patriarch and Love in the Time of Cholera, deepened his legacy. They examined loneliness, tyranny, aging, and devotion with unsparing clarity. He turned away from youthful romanticism and wrote with the cold edge of someone who had seen too much to pretend. Yet even in his most desolate stories, there was a hard-won compassion. He understood that endurance is not about avoiding heartbreak. It's about refusing to be broken by it. In the end, Garcia Marquez was more than a novelist. He was a chronicler of invisible empires, a sentinel of human memory, and a craftsman of stories that outlasted the regimes and ideologies they defied. He believed language was a form of resistance. He believed beauty was not a luxury, but a human right. And he proved that clarity, patience, and courage, Spartan virtues in literary armor, could reshape how a continent saw itself. His final years were quiet. Alzheimer's began to claim the very memory that had once carried 100 years of solitude in its arms. But even then, his legend had already outpaced his physical decline. He had built an empire of words, not by chasing trends or power, but by standing still, listening, and telling the truth the way only he could. Through storms of political hatred, economic instability, and intellectual dismissal, he held fast. Garcia Marquez showed that solitude, when chosen with purpose, becomes a crucible. And that writing, when married to conscience, can become a weapon more powerful than the sword. He did not just observe history, he rewrote its terms. Order the Spartan Mindset today, and embark on your journey toward becoming the leader your world needs. Let your struggles forge you into a warrior of character and resolve. The Spartan Mindset provides a comprehensive and actionable guide to personal development and resilience. Available now for just $19.99. Purchase your copy from the links in the description box below and on this channel's homepage, because your future begins with the right mindset. The Spartan Mindset.